Excuse me, folks. I got a frog in my throat. I'm going to do my best. It's like I drink water. Wrong, as we often do. Human after all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Gonna try my best to seek His will, to work through me. We need that more than ever. And I don't know. I'm gonna epically stumble and trip up, no doubt, throughout all this. Bear with me. We cannot walk in fear. We must do everything we can in this crazy time we're living. Okay, it looks like streams are going through. Let's not mess around and go ahead and kick things off. Appreciate you. Thanks for joining. Welcome to a muzzled chat. So, this is a pretty important question right here. Is our current administration / world leaders, I mean, if we're American, we should be asking that question about our leaders. If you're Australian or Canadian, you should be asking that. And not just that, we should be paying attention to world leaders across the board and the way it's impacting us, obviously, here at home, and whether or not they're fulfilling good or evil deeds. If they're in fact good or evil. Or who are they serving, good or evil? So before really into the information, there's some talking points I'd like for us, some exercises I want us all to kind of go through a bit. So bear with me. But it's interesting. Why is it? Why do, in fact, we act as though we know much of anything in this life? Think about it. After all, evil has been here the whole time. We're only visitors. So to seek that level of clarity and meekness and humbleness that Jesus taught us so much of and about. But let's ask ourselves, do we blindly trust? And I know that could even be a triggering question to pose. But it's important that we're honest with ourselves and honestly make the proper assessment and ask truthfully, do we blindly trust? Because if we're being honest with ourselves, yes, we all do. To one extent or another, and more, some of us more than others. Let's actually be clear. Blind trust is in fact, so let's dive into it a bit. What is blind trust? And it's taking anything anyone tells us in this life. Anyone. Think on these things. I've been really humbled greatly just reflecting back, childhood, all the way up to current, even trying to meditate futuristically so I could put up the proper armor and guards to, and kind of a spoiler, to not fall for the deception in this life. This is it. This type of meditation, this type of pondering, I believe is the best shield we in fact could gain. So anyone that tells us anything in this life when in fact we don't do our due diligence regarding any of the things that they're telling us. Let's also be clear that I almost totally just switched topics. I apologize, but making another point, but I'm doing my best to not squirrel. So to also highlight that it can be difficult to acknowledge. It can be difficult to actually do our due diligence, because we should ask ourselves who in fact controls most of the information and sources today. Couldn't it be possible that the evil that's been here this whole time has infiltrated all that to an extent? That's why freedom of expression and free speech has been so crucial, and we haven't really learned from real historical examples as to how important that is, because we wouldn't be supporting tyrannical oppressive platforms. But we continuously do, and in ways we continuously will. I feel discussions or thought exercises such as this, in fact, once again, could help benefit us in such a way that we absorb and fulfill what freedom really means. So, it is also crucial that when we learn how to more effectively source, search, use, tap into some of our instincts, like our gut instincts or intuition, discernment, or seeking answers from God, it becomes easier and easier to not fall prey to evil and the deception tactics and hone in on truth. Sometimes even acknowledging everlasting truths in that seeking. So do you blindly trust? Once again, we all do. Who do we blindly trust? Our parents? Yes. Pastors? Churches? Yes. Governments? Trump? You fill in the blank, folks. Blind trust is rampant among all of us when we're honest with ourselves. Because I believe as a whole, if we would have done our due diligence all along, we wouldn't be as deteriorated as a people, as a nation. We wouldn't be as divided. This very well could lead us into a whole more, just a more beautiful world. So is this, let's ask, could this be potentially our greatest protection against deception as a whole? I do believe, folks, that some of the biggest lies ever told in this existence are in fact the ones we tell ourselves. And we don't even see it. The worst lie to ever tell is to oneself. And I believe the hardest lie to even notice is too often the very ones we tell ourselves. But we got to acknowledge it's not necessarily us telling it. Evil has been using thoughts, information, beliefs to our own detriment. So it is imperative, utterly crucial, that we just don't blindly trust. Now, I get our parents, they have loving hearts, and you can honor, and it's important that we listen to them. They're our elders. They know wiser, obviously better than us. Charlie, we need you more than ever, because you just see the problems as people develop. We don't effectively learn the art of communication. And so much of this information that comes out, which kind of leads me into some other questions or another point I'd like to make. Because as I try exposing kind of this bigger picture, and it's just all a lens and perspective, because one individual, you could be using that lens of a bigger picture, and then they'll take offense and they're like, oh, you're small-minded or what have you. But anyways, it's interesting that it's no secret. Formerly 100% devout supporter of Trump, wanted him in here. I fell for, the words that were combined spoke near and dear to my heart. but I'm not going to allow, I'm looking at the evidence. I'm looking at the information. So anyway, can we just ponder for a second? Just ponder for at least a second on this. Why do you suppose a 3-time voter for Trump would be now sharing the information I have been? Do you think, in fact, I'm flipping over to the other side? Some type of other side? Not a chance in hell. That, in fact, I'm becoming Trump's or Trump's supporters' enemy? Because that's the reaction I'm getting as I try sounding the alarm on some of the things. And in my eyes, there have been example after example that enough has been enough. It is clear as day through any singular sample. And I believe what we're going to go through today and the information to share today, biblically, trying to tap into a lens of humanity, we could tie in law, order, Nuremberg, war, just clauses and do's and don'ts. And this is the one I believe indisputable topic there is. So whatever we think we know, and don't take my word for it on any of this information, we got to wipe that slate clean and truly ask ourselves, have we done enough? Have we done our due diligence and fulfilled what that in fact means? Because we could even lie to ourselves and outwardly that we have our due diligence, but we in fact have not. Hence, the biggest lie to ever tell is to ourselves, the most damaging. I have notes. I'm trying my best to stay up on them. I apologize, I keep getting off topic. But couldn't it possibly be that I now believe it's all rigged? That it's fake? So there's no side I'm going to be running to. That it is in fact bigger than any one man or administration. The system that we have been ingrained, programmed into trusting. They've intentionally brainwashed in such a way we have been ruling out critical thinking across the board in this country, and it's been to our own detriment. Why do you suppose the elitists and the rulers would even integrate our education systems in so much teaching that? How is it we go from such an imaginative child? I'm going to kill this music. I apologize. It's been helpful for me. I'm not going to lie. It can be nerve-wracking kicking these things off. But we must acknowledge the programming. Couldn't it possibly be that I'm now seeing that both of our political parties are in fact one and in the same, putting on a show for us to drink up? Kind of makes sense. 0 arrests. I mean, there was a whole show, right, with Trump about, but what impact did that really have? It's interesting. Couldn't it possibly be that behind closed doors, they're best freaking friends? I believe a lot of them are. I genuinely do. So it's, in my eyes, to simply create enough noise and enough distraction designed intentionally to have us fight amongst each other versus looking into our true oppressors. After all, couldn't this possibly be why they are all saying one thing and doing another? Never really doing what it takes to help us all or our country as a whole. Please think on this. I am not your enemy, folks. I genuinely feel that there's a bigger picture to absorb But it all starts with not lying to ourselves, doing our due diligence, not blindly believing and following in anything. And there's no other greater book to really dive into than the Bible itself. More than any pastor, more than any church. After all, we have in one hand a pastor out there saying flatten Gaza. We have others, even one I'll admit, I believe he taps into a lot of good that the Bible has, but he's still cheering on, hoping Israel wins. Anyway, there's depth on that. Don't go just because I'm saying anything about Israel. That is, in fact, the best path to go down. Because for me, why I'm so grateful that I've been led down that path is I keep ending up deeper and deeper into the word myself. And it's clear. It's clear through the Old Testament, the New Testament, through Jesus' example himself in the purest form. And we're to seek that. Kind of raises some other questions. Why are we seeking other people's, work and opinion and charisma versus, like, are we that lazy versus doing the work ourselves? It's our lives. It's our salvation. It's everything. So, I just really want you to think on these things because I want to see a change for the better in this country, in this world that we have all been praying for. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's dive in. And let's just try to open our eyes and hearts, clear the slate as to what we think we know, and just ask ourselves if, in fact, this administration is serving good or evil. And I'm having a problem screen sharing. All right, there we go. Well, Galatians 6:7. Just something to consider throughout all the information we're going to go through today. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. So I'm worried as a people, as individuals, as a country, what we sow, what we support, what we supply, we shall also reap. There's so much. I could literally just continuously go through a lot of the teachings and inspirations, but it's going to hit different. I'm not your pastor, and I'm not ever going to be. I want to stay meek, humble, a childlike Christian. No, I don't want to say believer in Christ for the rest of my life. So there's no, if I could just light the spark on anyone to look into this for themselves, that is what's important. Okay, let's start on the path that I believe will give us the clearest picture as to who this administration serves. Ian here, I really like how he goes through stuff. Let's go ahead and listen to this message.
You guys know about the Schofield Bible? Oh boy, here's a rabbit hole for you. Here's a rabbit hole for all of us. In the early 1900s, right around when the Federal Reserve was founded and the Balfour Declaration happened, right at that exact same time, the Rothschild family hired this dude, this pastor in the Deep South. He made a new version of the Bible called the Schofield Bible. He wrote this new Bible that has all these new interpretations of the text. So they didn't change.
With Jewish influence.
Yes, literally. That's where Judeo-Christianity kind of came from. And the idea that Israel is this modern Israel thing is the Israel of the Bible. It came from that Bible. And the Schofield Bible was funded by the Rothschild family. And then it was pushed because they owned the publisher that publishes like all the books. I think it was Oxford Press. And so they had the deals that they could make to get that Bible into all the mega churches across whole denominations of Christianity. And so that was when Christianity got kind of Jewified. You guys know about the Schofield?
That's a great little clip. Now, why start there? Well, to actually acknowledge to a degree that their evil has been here this whole time, influencing, once again, the devil offered Jesus the world. No one said that the devil wasn't capable of that. Jesus said that he was a prince of this world, that he had the ability to perform wonders, miracles as far as we're concerned. So anyway, yes, there are renditions of the Bible itself. That's why I love the King James Version. What does that date back to? Like the 1600s? I believe that's a first edition. What, in the English language? So obviously it's going to be the less manipulated unless you're willing to learn another language, right? So, and once again, our loving Creator, as though He's going to let any of this get too muddied up or saturated that we'll lose the true roadmap for us in this life. I do believe the King James Version, awesome. I do love the NLT New Living Translation. It captures all the principles, points. Some of the verses even hit home deeper than the King James, but then again, every now and then the King James will hit in a way I'm like, I wish we could change that verbiage back in the NLT. So it's fun to bounce back and forth just to kind of gear us up so we don't go down the rabbit holes of deception, even biblically. That brings up another point. Maybe I'll pull this off. That maybe I even did that prematurely. I'll share a screen here in a bit because Ian Carroll created a documentary. He called it Creating Israel. It's just over an hour long, and it is incredible. It's not really touching on biblical or whatnot, just the facts. Do I believe there's potential stronger ways of exposing? And don't get me wrong, like, why do I care more about foreign countries than America? Absolutely not. But you don't, until you do the deep dive, realize how impactful this is, in fact, here. So anyway, it's such, and with everything that's taken place over there, it's just, it makes it so clear. So I would challenge all of us to check out his documentary because it just shows how evil men, even satanic worship, things like that, have led to essentially why the world is the way it is. And it's important that and these are independent researchers, they're not extremely funded to have some sort of bias. We're just using the gut instinct, our intuition, praying to God on individual levels. I don't know Ian Carroll on a personal level to really know, but I'm so grateful because he does such a good way. He's gifted to appeal to the masses. He's trending, TikToks, X's, all sorts of things, like blowing a muzzle chat out of the water. You kidding me? So I'm so grateful for that. And just connecting, he brings the receipts in such a powerful way that it gets us, it fires up our own rational, critical thinking and sets us on the path. So I would love to hear from you as to his documentary and what paths it sends you down. But it so clearly ties into essentially how the world is the way it is. And when you kind of brings essentially Jesus's word to light. And I've referenced this a lot, and I'm going to continue till the cows come home. The cows ain't home yet. So we're going to continue referencing this, but it's interesting to see Christians, whether it's a projection of Christianity or they're purist, but when I bring up or try echoing Jesus's own words in Revelation 2:9 and 3:9, they just ignore it. They're not seeking and absorbing what Jesus warned us about multiple times in Revelation, which we often correlate to the end times, which a lot of Christians are out there saying we're in right now. I'm not to speculate really in regards to all that. I mean, you feel it. I kind of feel it. And it's important And it's irrelevant whether we see that day or not. It's like prior generations. Was it any less important for them to find Jesus and salvation in this life? No, it's all relative. But Jesus warns us of our oppressors and labels the deceivers, the very ones of the synagogue of Satan, what they're going to run under. And you could even tie that in as to our rulers and what are they pushing regarding that label? Are they emboldening our speech here? Or are they suppressing it regarding that? That's a big tell. But anyway, when you actually understand to a degree who was behind creating Israel and the why they did, makes a lot of sense. Why they named it what they did makes sense. How they manipulate through Israel. So let's do an exercise before I even go any further on that. Let me pull up the screen. And this is just a Google. I challenge any of you to do this because I'm convicted that the Israel talked about today and that landmass has nothing, literally nothing to do with the biblical Israel. Sure, Middle East, Abraham, descendants, Israelites, also others. Sure. Old covenants. Sure. Is there all that? But you got to seek it for yourself in the Bible and seek the answers for yourself. It is so clear. Those old covenants have nothing to do because there were centuries and centuries, even beyond that, even if you did connect it. And let's say that landmass never changed names, never changed anything. It wouldn't be as what the Bible's depicting. So the warning essentially that Ian was even saying regarding the Scofield Bible and how it grossly manipulated this Israeli, other labels associated with it, and I want to say all the labels, but it's interesting. I've realized I've kind of worked out the even triggers within myself. I'm just trying to go about it in a little different way to make it a little more absorbable for some individuals that might hear that 3-letter word or something and just it triggers something. They're automatically, Satan worshiper. It has that type of impact. These core beliefs, especially with theology biblically, they're so deep. They're really hard to bring back up and question for ourselves. So anyway, just even to do a little bit of research right here in the Google machine, we know, and if you don't know, that's alarming, but this is a very powerful tool for evil, the Google search machine. Nothing's free after all. It is a very powerful manipulative tool, but even when you just ask a simple question, what was the land called before 1948 that is now called Israel? Palestine, however you want to pronounce it. And it was that from 1920 to 1948. So I even asked the question, well, what is the land called before 1920 that's now called Israel? And it was like, well, several names, but the most common name for the region, Palestine. Okay, so I reworded the question, and then we actually got pre-1920 part of the Ottoman Empire. It's interesting. How come I've never personally gone to these depths to even understand real history? And I once again, we could do better than Google, but even Google to an extent, because all this is documented, it's factual, that they can't rewrite it with potentially they would have to eliminate so many books off the shelves and whatnot that if they went to those extents, they're pushing the envelope as far as they can without pushing us into a proper response. Catch my drift? And whatever that entails, because they go to that level of manipulation, whatever means necessary for us at that point. So it's interesting, this Ottoman Empire period, 1517 through 1917. So what is that, over 400 years? Over 4 centuries? What was it prior to that? Oh, we start getting to the I can't even say these things, 13th, 16th century Crusader states, early Muslim. You just go through it all. Okay, province of Judea. Oh, kingdoms of Israel, known as the Iron Age. We're so far back. And then now you can tie in some of the biblical. Heck, even in the Bible, there's a lot of religious maps of land masses during certain eras. I believe the renaming was intentionally done in the grossest, most deceitful ways by none other than the Rothschilds themselves. Because when you look into who really was behind it, was it just them in and of themselves? No, but they had a heavy hand in the reestablishing of this land, putting new borders down and calling it Israel, and it wasn't named Israel by an accident, because once again, that was Rothschilds, as you saw Ian talking about the Scofield Bible. These aren't coincidences. This is, after all, when you look into these individuals, they have indebted entire nations through connections to the Federal Reserve, but also the West Central banking systems, and interest in things of that nature, and supporting all this fake currency, indebting not just the people of nations, but the governments, everything themselves. This is a power play and a power position to where they can, in fact, buy out countries and reestablish and name how it is. That's why this is exactly living proof in my eyes is to the warnings of Jesus in Revelation 2 verse 9, and living full color today. But don't take my word for it. There's more evidence to go through. And I mean, real quickly, I got some bulletin points on this, but now is it starting to make sense as to who was behind the creation, why they named it what they did, how they manipulated through that very label Israel, using words to deceive major world religions, mostly the Bible. Their influence worldwide through banking, fake currency. Let's just throw in that quote through Jesus, the den of thieves, addressing the money exchangers. It's like you begin to understand how they position themselves to boastfully state. And you can look this up for yourself, folks. But you know what? We'll even pull it up right here. To boastfully state. This is one of the mothers of the Rothschilds, 1753 through 1849. If my sons did not want wars, there would be none. They positioned themselves to profit from both sides, sending our sons and daughters. Once again, I'll get back to the talking points, or at least my bulletin points here, so I'm not entirely scrambling. Boastfully state, there would be none. It's like we ourselves historically have been falling for the false flags and engaging time after time to the loss of our sons and daughters to their enrichment. Every world war, ask yourself, could understanding just this be the greatest defense in preventing World War III? You begin to understand how they have manipulated, bribed, blackmailed, growing so powerful it became easy for them to entirely control, own entire countries, governments. And if you're still in doubt of any of this, go ask one of your elected representatives this simple question: who do you care more about, the American people or Israel? It's like through going down this road, you begin to understand how they have broken the spirit of entire countries to get its strongest people to believe so strongly in who they choose, giving our power away, falling for the illusion of choice. we begin to see how they tear apart people apart, not solely on their differences, but how they radicalize them through completely unorganic means. This provokes some thought, doesn't it? Not everyone that voted differently than you is as insane as they paint them out to be. So with that being stated, if in fact we looked at our common agreeable traits or what have you, and let's just say we took away from the controllers their methods of manipulating the masses, and there's so many methods through the war machine known as mainstream media, social media, sports, Hollywood, you name it, education system. How many of these people who voted differently would stop with the nonsense? Because it's unorganic. There's nothing organic about it. It's manipulative. It's radicalized. There's also additional connections to make. Once again, this family name also ties into infiltrating colleges and our very education systems, our medical systems. Once again, Bible renditions. All has ties to the Rothschilds. In short, we have been falling for one of the oldest tricks in the books, folks. Divide and conquer. But do not be disheartened. I don't want this all to be doom and gloom, because once again, I am ever so grateful to how seeking the truth and doing my due diligence has gotten me to dive into our greatest tool at our disposal, none other than the Bible itself. And it's got me into that like never before. And the promptings and the feelings and the enlightenment, the strength that comes through that, I can't even express. That's just something for you to experience yourself. All right, I'm done with these notes. It's actually really tripping me up. I apologize. I am human after all, but let's continue through this. So here's the beginning of Ian Carroll's. By the way, folks, all the links, unless it has to do with some of the research I've done, and I simply just say do your own research, all the links are below. Check this out. This hour 12-minute documentary is so worth watching. I mean, even right here in the beginning, the questions he starts asking are just so powerful. Let's just play a minute or seconds.
You've been walking blind in this world with propaganda coloring every aspect of your understanding of what is going on in America. The inevitable truth is it gets crazier before it gets simpler. It only takes one crack in that facade. It only takes one lie itching in your mind to realize.
The thing is, though, imagine this like glass. Any administration or political figure, unless they show up and mend the glass or replace the glass, how are we not seeing that? It's fractured. And only it takes one lie. It takes one crack. And we're disregarding. We're even excusing. We even go as far as to, I can't even, for whatever it is. Maybe it's just we're too intentionally caught up in our dailies that we can't even fathom setting aside the time or the patience to truly understand. So it's interesting that we're disregarding that it's a broken glass. It's shattered. Like you can't even, we got to replace the pane, folks. Otherwise what? All the glass around gets cracked and broken. We're going to get hurt. There's shards. We're living in a perpetual state of deterioration. You know, I'm just going to leave it at that teaser. But he's got amazingly powerful questions, and the way he walks through the information, he's more gifted than I. Ian Carroll, thank you. Appreciate you. Stay tuned. If I don't get enough people emailing me what their thoughts or in the comment section here, then we may very well whether he likes it or not, play that on this platform and ask some additional questions, maybe connect a couple additional dots, but provide all the links to also plug. Hopefully he likes that and it doesn't view it as a copyright or infringement. But this individual, for frick's sakes, folks, I'm tripping up over words. In a way, as Christians, we're pushing people away from even but sometimes it's like Christianity's been so muddied even at this point. It's like maybe someone that's not even engaged can kind of outwardly see even clearer, but we're so poorly walking in the light that's bringing the non-believers in. We're failing walking in Christ's footsteps. Once again, it's a hard question to ask. Am I more so a projection of Jesus and what he stood for, or am I more accurately walking in his steps? But anyway, this resonates with me. He stated so much truth in this video, and we're not going to go through the video, but my goodness, definitely goes over some powerful points. The main reason I'm not going to play the video is I don't feel most of Americans are ready for it, because it goes over the memorial service of Charlie Kirk. And there was a lot of positive spiritual momentum in ways that happened there. A lot of messages about Christ in the Bible. But it was hijacked, as he states here. I am not a Christian, but good luck to everyone who is. We are seeing Christianity demonically hijacked for political manipulation. That is the very inversion of what Jesus is claimed to stand for. Trump, Vance, and the Bible bashing, people bashing, regime talking about Jesus and love while supporting the genocide in Gaza. Oh, that's just a taste. You get a taste as to where we're going. I know a lot of folks they want to turn a blind eye, but you can't. You got to understand as to why things are the way they are, to even see the depth of the corruption here, to actually provide the real tangible solutions we have, folks. We got to do this. We got to do our due diligence. So, pointing out a very, very clear picture for us. Supporting the genocide in Gaza, blowing up people on boats in Venezuela. I mean, so many examples. You get the point. Futuristically, we might dive into that video. Here we go. Revelation. It's in red. This is Jesus' words. I know of thy works in tribulation, in poverty, but thou art rich, mainly through him, and not in the materialistic sense, in the only sense that matters in this life. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews, and they are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. We often understand and have no problem correlating evil using deception tactics, kind of like the wolves in sheep's clothing. Jesus himself. So why would we tune out right here? I don't get that. I get the fluoride stare by so many self-proclaimed Christians when I bring this up and I seek like, hey, what does this mean to you? And I get the fluoride stare. It's unbelievable. It's, because once again, this has been programmed. This word right here has been so programmed into us in such a way. Victim, victim, victim. We can't even talk about it. So why wouldn't the devil now use that momentum in this era to claim, as Jesus is saying here, this word that we can't even talk about or question, and arguably not even question in this country in so many states because there's executive orders that are trying to stomp out anti-Semitism. So that is a shield evil is truly gaining to hide behind, but they're not that. They are of the synagogue of Satan, as Jesus himself warned us, and it's not just this one time. He repeats it. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and they are not, but do lie. What more do we... And when you really go through the biblical history, and I believe when it even touches on all this in the Old Testament, Jew and Gentile, I was even becoming exhausted with why the labels have been so decisive. And then it finally like came to me where it's so important that they're there, because instead of it being neutralized, then we wouldn't have the lesson is to the new covenant fulfilled through Christ, where it matters not. Jew or Gentile all have a seat at the table. So why did the labels, why are we not even looking at the biblical historical examples and still using all these freaking labels? Evil is effectively polarizing and weaponizing that we're just taking hook, line, and sinker and spewing towards others. We're losing sight of humanity of all God's children. I'm going to replay this clip. I played it in the other episode, but it's so powerful. This gentleman addresses Ted Cruz and his biblical theology and exposes a lot. And this is something, take this to your pastors. If they're literally talking about God's chosen people supporting Israel blindly as they're actively committing genocide, and we'll get into it, folks. I'm not going to get that graphic, but it's going to be enough. I believe it will hit home. Futuristically, I do feel called that we're going to go through some of the graphics, and I will be sure to forewarn you, but give us a listen.
Does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. Those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed.
Wait, what?
And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the top.
Of course you don't. You don't read it.
Genesis 12:3. That's what he quoted. Genesis 12:3. What did Cruz say?
Those who bless Israel will be blessed.
Now let's just read the verse together, shall we? I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. Cruzy, where's Israel in this verse? We're just going to go back 2 verses. Let's see what the Bible is even talking about, okay? The Lord has said to Abraham. The Lord has said to who? Not Israel. Abraham. Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. The Bible is talking to Abraham. There is no mention of Israel in this verse. Your entire belief system, your support to Israel comes from this verse. Now, I've read online the blessing is not only towards Abraham, is for the descendants of Abraham. So the descendants of Abraham is Isaac, and then from Isaac you got the Jews. Now the thing is, from the descendants of Abraham you got Ishmael as well. And from Ishmael you got the Arabs. Who are the Arabs? The Palestinians. So according to your theology, my boy, they're both blessed. This is your book. And I'm trying to read through it to understand your belief system and the way you think. And even it just doesn't... Bro, now if you support the state of Israel because of the Bible, maybe read the Bible. And if you're...
It's a great point. And yes, let's just read the Bible and seek this for ourselves, because there's so much other talk is in the Bible regarding Israel. And it's all important. There's land masses and things like that talked within the same concept of Israel, but there's also notions and things way bigger than that. Hence, and we're talking old covenant, fulfilled covenant, can't negate the new covenant through Jesus as Christians, but also I believe it's bigger. It's a bigger picture being painted in the Bible, correlating Israel is to God's kingdom. No type of landmass in this mortal existence that we could, because it talks about the Israelites and God's children being all over this world. So it's not a landmass. The devil has been using that as a deception, and we can prove just that. Let's go into this administration a bit and their stance in this current time.
The day after in Gaza to stabilize the land. And we need a political perspective. And this is
why we took this decision on recognition.
Well, I have to say that I'm on the side of Israel. I've been on the side of Israel really my whole life. And we are going to get a solution. And it's going to be a solution, hopefully, that's good for everybody. But it's time to stop. We're going to have that very important meeting. I think the meeting we have coming up in the next hour is going to be one of the most important meetings we'll have here. We've had some important meetings. We've had some great meetings, and I understand where you are and where other people are too. And we just have to get this solved. We have to get the hostages back. We want to get the war over.
The day after.
When you actually look even what he just finished there. Okay, so blind support for Israel. Okay, can't even really describe in any stance of economics, anything, and really as to why they're our greatest ally, as they quote. Can't back that up with any type of receipts. It just crumbles with the overwhelming evidence as to why we should actually be arguably at war or completely disregarding any aid. That evidence is entirely overwhelming. But regarding your statement still to this day, how many hostages are we talking about? Now, I know one life is important, but at the point we're literally just carpet bombing, there isn't a single hospital left standing in Gaza. Not a single school. To the point we're doing supply drops and bombing the individuals that come in. Are you kidding me? At this point, there was 2.5 million innocent lives, or just what was it? Over 50% under the age of like 25, over 74% under the age of like 17 or something like that, their population. So the majority, so much of the populace there is even children. You telling me those are the terrorists that might have a few hostages? A, how many hostages are there? B, what evidence do you even have? Or are you just using this as an excuse to commit war crimes as the international courts have assessed this? They had Israel representative Gaza and other 9 countries that Israel's actively committed war crimes against as well. And the verdict was Israel is creating war crimes and crimes against humanity. And they went in as far as issuing an arrest for Netanyahu. So, if we actually went through the information ourselves that they went through, wouldn't we come to a similar verdict? They offered equal opportunity from both sides, and that's a verdict they came up with. It's like we're so quick and easy to just because pro-Trump on the words and all this other stuff that we're even negating really looking honestly as to what's taking place over there. And it is horrific. So what justifies hostages are justifying? Like, no, that tactic is horrible. It's terrible. You don't bomb schools because I don't care if there was 1,000, 1,000,000 terrorists under that school. There's 10 kids in the school. You don't just bomb it. And that's not the numbers. I've just given them the entire unrealistic benefit of the doubt here. Why are we not being honest with ourselves to really what's taking place? What in the F, Trump? Truly unbelievable. Nuke a whole country's innocent population over hostages. Once again, how many? Show me the evidence, please. Isn't there over it's 2.5 million on this land? Aren't 500,000, 500,000 missing? They didn't get away on lifeboats. They didn't take first class flights out of there. Where are the buses? The most likely, this 500,000 women, children, even innocent men are lying dead among the rubble from all the bombs that this administration, yes, even the last administration, have supplied to them. There's no amount of hostages. This information has been being used as mind control and war propaganda to justify this very outcome. The greed, demonic men wanting more power and control, land more so properly explains this ethnic cleansing. And it makes me sick that folks can't see through these blatant deceptions in our face. Shout out to Billy. He posts a lot of powerful truths. It's on X. Follow him. Had a pretty awesome chat with him earlier, and he's a true warrior. And I know at least we're gaining ground, it seems, to an extent, because you can only murder so many innocent lives to where the masses can start even humoring this type of conversation. And that's where I believe the Scofield Bible and all those other tactics of fictional religious core beliefs are finally, like, people are bringing that up and questioning that at its depth. But to hear what Trump says here and then view what in fact is continuously going on, and we've touched on it before, we're going to touch on it again here in a second, is to this current administration has already sent over $12 billion to Israel to continue what they're doing over there. And the majority of that was even in supplying arms and bombs. Hundreds of thousands of pounds of bombs that they even wrote in loving memory of Charlie Kirk on some of them. Like, what? How can you say this? And not, like, we're not willing to accept essentially the title of this episode. Are they in fact serving good or evil? I don't see. I can't even articulate. I'm tripping up over my own words. Let's just hear it.
You know that the Palestinians don't want to leave their land. Some people say this is ethnic cleansing. You won't be able to force them to leave their land.
Right.
We're moving them to a beautiful location.
You have Christian pastors that still are standing their ground in Gaza, stating we are not leaving. And they're sharing, and it's really hard because they've knocked out all the cellular, Wi-Fi, and ability for so many of these individuals to even get the messages out. You're not moving them. They don't want to go. It is an ethnic, and it's exactly, he negates answering the very questions they asked him.
They have new homes where they can live safely, where they'll have doctors and medical and all of those things, and I think it's going to be great. Yeah, any questions?
You said before that the U.S. would buy Gaza, and today you just said we're not going to buy Gaza.
We're not going to have to buy. We're going to have Gaza.
We don't want it.
There's nothing to buy. We will have Gaza.
What does that mean?
No reason to buy. There is nothing to buy. It's Gaza. It's a war-torn area. We're going to take it. We're going to hold it. We're going to cherish it.
And Mr. President, take it under what authority? It is sovereign territory.
Under the U.S. authority.
Wow.
Mr. President, how do you know that the Palestinians don't want to leave their...
How we're not seeing this as Christians. Well, let's get into, okay, there's some of the money. He's actively trying to send over an additional $9 billion, which would put it over $20 billion, folks. This isn't MAGA. It's MIGA. It's serving not us, something else, but deceitfully praying to formulating enough of the words to where we're just willing to not, okay, no. I can't even articulate it. This is firing something up within me that, this is so painful. Now, by the way, they've done so many renditions on this very music video. The real raw ones. But it's being obliterated, nuked off the internet. Why have they killed more journalists trying to go over there from all over the world? So many, even America. And the documentation, the proper accounting up already now is in excess of World War I and other. What else do they tie it into? We won't let my brain fart keep us. But anyway, they've killed over 260 journalists. Why? If we're being honest with ourselves, because they want to control the narrative and cover up what's taking place. In the renditions of this song where it actually shows more of the graphic, we're going to air that at some point futuristically because it really hits home. But this one isn't as graphic, but the words do a lot. And you can imagine with the further out views as to what's taking place as to all the loss of innocent life. There's nothing godly about this. Nothing godly.
One whole year of genocide. Real beheaded babies with no front pages. Israelis raping Palestinians in cages. US paid the wages. UK supplied intelligence. Elephant in room evidence. Levels of malevolence. Catastrophe developments. Starvation skeletons. Pestilences prevalence. Trauma inheritance. Rampaging regiments. Degenerates wreck tenements. Weapon test experiments. Leave population to elements. Concentration collate. In a camp where death awaits. A bomb descends and detonates. Disembowels evaporates. Torsos torn shreds. Bodies no heads. Girls with no legs on their deathbeds. Heads without skulls. Hollowed out holes where there were souls. Dreams, goals. A father's last cuddle in a blood-soaked puddle. A ghostly grey child hangs plucked from the rubble. Planes bombing. Shrapnel, embedded children, babies burned to ash. Headlines without who killed them. Sick systems, blame the victims for their decisions. Ignore the symptoms of cruel, callous coalition. Psychopathic politicians at the Hague, the mission. Incarcerate in prison, never pardon or forgiven. 24/7, 365. One whole year of genocide.
Multiple years now.
Most documented genocide in history. The most
only getting worse.
In the world's military. Kills children, causes misery. Bombs buildings, deforms physically. Media lied deliberately. Propaganda trickery. Death upon delivery of weapons supplied artillery. From right to left to liberally. Unequivocally. Cold cowards criminally. World stand by, do minimally. This is not a mystery. Take it back to history. Evil banality. Left horror to prevail. Nothing is illegal if no one could curtail. When good people do nothing, humankind fail. Just a passive tale. Blind masses on a massive scale. Last breath exhale. Decomposing personnel. Death is all around the smell. Welcome to the gates of hell. Mow the grass, then expel. Escape comprehended. The Nakba never ended as the bombs dropped, descended on the child undefended. A soldier smiles demented. Self-defense presented. Victimhood invented. Words pretend offended. Force of freedom makes you quiver. From the sea to the river. Tidal wave, every killer. Every sniper pulling trigger. Every child that you disfigure paints the world a bigger picture of a country getting sicker. Genocide, spread the virus. Racist righteous. Right to rape riots. Pious pirates. Existential crisis. There's no coming back from this. Collapse the state catalyst. Your own antagonist. Psycho-sadomasochist. As Palestine persists. For the right to exist. The right to resist. Gets demonized, dismissed. 24/7, 365. One whole year of genocide. 1 year of genocide. 1 year of reign. We're normalizing violence.
Right.
We're normalizing pain. We're organizing silence, making it mundane. 1 whole year of genocide. 1 whole year of pain. N-O-C-I-E-E-G-E. N-O-C-I-E-E-G-E.
images are unbelievable to anyone that's going to listen to just the audio. Come join us on Rumble. You got to see this for yourself. Unbelievable. Very well done. And the rendition since then is the genocide has only ramped up in its atrocities and war crimes. They've added a lot more graphic material, but it's being nuked off the internet. We are not a free people or a country with that level of suppression. Full stop. It's not anti-Semitic. Folks, this is enough right here to answer the title of this very episode and how it's trampling. You cannot explain away or justify any of that without trampling on the very Bible itself. You cannot. It's all excuses. It is just horrific. I even wonder whether I ought to stop what I'm doing and head over there. But in lieu of all the information we know, odds are, what impact am I going to have in Gaza if I even get through? Odds are I won't even get through. I'll just end up another one of the statistics. Would that number even matter? What would 500,001 make any difference in waking us up here? This is disgusting. As though, you know what, we'll keep it on this topic. I like the perspective this post actually gives you. There are 6 types of politicians in the United States. Number 1, bought by Israel. Number 2, blackmailed by Israel. Number 3, dual citizen of Israel. Number 4, scared of Israel. Number 5, killed by Israel. Number 6, Thomas Massey. Notice how it didn't touch on red, blue, Dem, Republican. There are only 6 types of politicians in the U.S. Let's stop falling for the constructs and see the true evil and oppressors as they are. That is the only way we're going to be free. That's why this administration hasn't been focusing on interest, the West Central banking systems, our economy, the vast industry that's buying up everything, suppressing, entirely obliterating our middle class. It's becoming a rich man, a wealthy man's world, and then there's just everybody else that they choose to keep around or not. And it's sad because this is an act of genocide that's taking place by none other than this administration, but it's so starch, it's so black and white, it's such a blessing for us to acknowledge, but they're using other tactics right here at home with the fluoride dumbing us down in our water, also other chemicals that are messing up on with both sexes, and pharmaceuticals messing up our hormones, our function, and causing inflammation in the body. Same thing with what they're putting in the skies. Same things that they're putting into our pharmaceutical and our food. Vaccinations have become bioweapons. They've weaponized insects. I have Lyme disease, created in a lab dating back to the freaking 1950s. Imagine the new biological warfare. It is no joke. So to just view as though, I mean, that's the next step. They're willing to go to those lengths. After all, these elites right here on our own soil have elaborate bomb shelters built into all their estates. So believe you me, they're willing to go to those lengths right there that video clip showed us in Gaza, right here at home. Holy shit. So bold, yet most seem to lack even the ability to absorb a true threat. Check this out. This is incredibly shocking.
Way. It doesn't matter where they are. Even if they are politicians in the West, they are going to fall because we cannot afford.
Hold on. Did you hear what he just said?
Yes.
He threatened politicians in the West that if they don't agree with Israel's war against Iran, that they're going to fall. And remember, he's an Israeli agent. Are you saying
Is
Israel will
Israeli-
murder
Israeli agent.
politicians in the West or get rid of them politically through bribery or whatever else? What do you mean the politicians in the West will fall if they don't agree to back Israel's war against Iran?
Yeah, we will not vote for them anymore.
Oh, no, well, you don't vote for them now. You're not in our country. What do
Good-
you mean
good
the
point.
politicians will fall?
We live in democracy, and we have the right to bring them up and to bring them down. Those who
Who's
agree
we?
with
And how are
Ayatollah,
you
we don't
bringing
want
them
them
down?
in office. And all the sympathizers
we?
with
And how are you
terrorists
bringing
like
them down?
yourself, we don't
Who's
want
we
them even
and how
to
are
be in
you
our
bringing them
country.
down? Who is we and how are you bringing down politicians in the West if they dare to defy Israel? Tell me how you're bringing them down.
I already answered you that.
Are you going to murder them or are you going to bribe them? Are you going to bribe someone else? Who are you going to do?
All the
And
above.
Okay, so let me answer it because he's not. Look, the best case scenario, we've seen the worst case scenario. They buy an Israeli product, see how it turns out for you, okay? Now, the best case scenario for what he's saying there is, oh, no, AIPAC's going to come in and say, hey, if you work for
AIPAC.
Israel, we'll give you a lot of money, and now J Street too. If you don't work for Israel, we'll give that money to your political opponent and we'll eliminate you politically.
And anyone who gets in the way, it doesn't matter where they are, even if they are politicians in the West, they are going to fall.
You replay this 20 times. I genuinely feel the majority of us won't even absorb the real threat, the hate in this man's eyes. And when you look into the Talmud, now everyone, that's what it is. Like Jesus warned us about the one evil, true evil, essentially the devil and his minions running under the Jew label, stating they're not Jews. Why are we not grasping that? Oh, and that very phrase, and this is how evil's using that, and this administration and former. It's why I view they're all serving the same slave masters and never really answering to we the people. And we're falling for the construct and illusion of choice in this country and all over the world. The synagogue of Satan has built out so much infrastructure in this world, it is chump change to run and operate in occupied countries and world leaders through bribes, excuse me, money, threats, all you can imagine. For frick's sakes, JFK got assassinated in broad daylight, and there's to this day the scraps around that assassination make more sense than the actual narrative that got pushed and crammed down all the weaponized media that's lied to us time and time again. That same example just recently has played out with someone else near and dear to our hearts. Are we going to continue to believe the liars? Or are we going to start picking up the crumbs, or more importantly, live on the principles and the truths and the blessing in our time that one near and dear to our heart, the foundational work he built? We going to continue building on that foundation? Or are we going to allow those supposedly within his sphere to make a mockery of it and utterly rip up and destroy the very foundational work he was doing in such, yes, a compelling, seemingly beautiful way? I do not believe that when you stub your toe and utilize the expression, oh my God, is taking the Lord's name in vain. It's distasteful. I am sure he doesn't enjoy that. I believe all the biblical taking the Lord's name in vain is deeper. It's the deceivers. I was going to save this for the last bit of the episode, but this is a challenge. And I learned so much by these very scripture. And there's the Tyndale verse finder. It's under hypocrisy. And when you look into it in the depth and then let it carry you on, when a chapter is speaking to you, continue reading. If it didn't hit home, and then go back and read the whole portion. I learned so much. This gives us the tools to properly see the deceivers. because the deceivers will be living out actively their own hypocrisies. And we all do to an extent. And we must challenge ourselves to do better. And I pray that these verses help us do just that. We have do not associate with hypocrites. This is Psalm 26:4. Don't even associate with them. It goes in depth. God hates hypocrisy in worship. A little spoiler alert on a futuristic episode regarding the memorial of Charlie Kirk. Undoubtedly, the Spirit was present because there were innocent hearts there, purists. And it doesn't matter. The Spirit won't deny himself, I'm sure, of being present just because those believers are now drinking up from this cup of what is described here. God hates hypocrisy in worship. It's rampant. Everyone, all the administrative characters that showed up there, that had an opportunity to speak in the microphone under godly and Jesus Christ name himself, this I view is taking the Lord's name in vain. They weren't, it's kind of like the image of this title. That's kind of what inspired it, of, is God on his knees praying, uniting the people? Or is he more so a boastful, arrogant, golden statue, and you see the division of the people and the separation and the fissures in the earth? Ask yourself what's taking place. But God hates hypocrisy in worship. That's Isaiah 29:13. Hypocrites pretend to be devoted to God. This is Ezekiel 33:31 through 32. Once again, there's a lot more enlightenment to continue past the read of just this scripture, like the few scriptures it references. God finds hypocrites repulsive. Matthew 23:27 through 28. When I watched that memorial service, yes, some of it was pure. But to see the reactions of the people when you see past that it's not any administration that's a solution, it's interesting. It was one of the most painful watches I've ever experienced. And I was left as though I got in a mortal fight. My body actually felt like I got beat up a bit. Interesting. This is spiritual warfare. Beware of hypocrisy in your life. And I pray I absorb that at its core. Luke 12:1 through 2. God will punish hypocrisy. Luke 20:46 through 47. Hypocrites are worthless. Titus 1:16. Get rid of hypocrisy. 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 1. I'm so grateful for this roadmap in this life. We need it more than ever, but we need it in a personal sense. Any pastor, any church, it's great. It's beautiful. It can be a vehicle that could propel you further, faster than individual search. But without the individual search, how will you gain the discernment as to that vehicle taking a wrong turn or heading the wrong freaking way? You won't have it. You got to have, above all, that intimate relation, you yourself. I'm convicted in this. When I experienced church hurt through leadership and relations and this and that, it was such a blessing. It opened my eyes because I saw him on levels, on a personal level I just never experienced. And then it's beautiful. You could tap into these churches and these pastors, you could even have the disagreements, but you could see past their flaws and still drink and fill your cup. But you're not relying on that. They could outcast you And above all, you put the priority in God and that relation, yours, like it's secured here that no pastor or church is going to disrupt that pure relation with God. You put the church or pastor above it, then you'll start questioning God. The only one that is only relationship we can have in this existence that will not let us down, even though, yes, when things get hard and he feels distant, it will feel as though he's letting you down at times. But I assure you, if he seems distant, it's just he wants us to be like him. And if he's ever overwhelmingly present, then we're not ever going to get that chance in this existence to, in fact, be like him, even though we're made in his image. More on that futuristically. I'm not here to entirely bear my testimony. Let's mash through the rest of this. This one hit home. To hear these Australian doctors and their story, it's 10 minutes long. We're not going to play it all, but what it took to get there, the bombed hospitals in the background, how they have to provide life-saving care to people on the dirt, on the ground, without the proper medications or anything, and Wi-Fi's, and they can't even. I imagine there was a level of journalist that had to risk his life to even get this out. This is what hit home on such a level. It's like, well, what am I doing? How much am I even a projection of a do-gooder myself, or Christ-like, sharing the message, trying to, with all my flaws here, versus like what would be more impactful? Should I just pack up and go, knowing it's a one-way ticket? If in fact I knew it was more impactful, I genuinely couldn't deny that opportunity. I just want to be sure that I'm not lying to myself, that I potentially could be more impactful here in the continuum of work than a singular one-off type of work. I'm still assessing that, and I don't know, but it is unbelievable, because when you hear them in the links below, amazing women, amazing. Trump, what in the F? We are going to have Gaza once again? Really? At what cost? We do not want it. You are going to move the people? This is not moving the people. This is murdering them with your bombs, our tax money. Some more than others. The ones that fall for the illusion of income tax being mandatory, you are mistaken. It is voluntary. It's unconstitutional, and it's infringement on your rights. The people that fled true oppression and founded this country, they revolted against a 2% T-tax and won. Our income tax alone is what percentage? Do the math. We are not free. We're intentionally pressured to a point that we aren't posing the evil rulers that exist in today's day and age. It's all intentionally done. And we keep giving up our power to them. And it's breaking my heart. This must stop immediately. You so far, talking to Trump and this administration, are the biggest liars I've ever fallen for, as far as I can acknowledge in this life. We will never forget. And the people, I pray, will find a way to have all the corrupt elite playing with all our lives like some sick and perverted game accountable. You could tie the perversions in even later, but you could look this stuff up yourself, folks. Donald Trump received over 100 million. Well, 100 million specifically through Miriam Adelson, the widow of a pro-Israel billionaire. What favors did that buy? there's so much, it's hard to even gain all the documented amounts that went to him, because I mean, right here, they also were supporting him in the previous elections as well. But it's over 230 million that's been accounted for directly through Israeli influence. What does that gain? Is that in and of itself why they would do? Maybe that's why they don't want the Epstein file. I don't believe Trump would, in fact, go to those lengths and be such a blatant liar to his own people, to the point he would say, if you have any questions, ask him about Epstein. I don't want your support anymore. I believe the only reason he would go to those lengths, and this is my personal feeling on the matter, is that he himself is implicated. But once again, this image right here, holy shit. And Trump himself posted this. Him and Charlie. Great Charlie Kirk, rest in peace. Shalom Pearl. What does Shalom Pearl mean? Refers to someone who is gullible or a patsy, someone easily tricked or manipulated into doing something they shouldn't. And the term originates from a Jewish man named Shalom Pearl who pretended to be a Nazi during World War II. In the modern usage, it describes someone who falls for the tricks. I mean, the deception is right here in front of our face through none other than Donald Trump himself, yet we're not willing. No, that's not it. And this is 5D space chess. Well, unbelievable. This is a powerful clip. He can't talk, so it's just kind of some music, and he's got the numbers, because how many kids in Gaza dead? 825 under 1 year old. 30 children daily, one every 45 minutes. And that's from what the calculations on the documented numbers as far as we know. And we know with 500,000 missing, it is far worse than that. 70,000 kids are hospitalized for starvation. That's a war crime in and of itself. Over what? Over hostages? 4,000 child amputees. All done without anesthesia. But apparently the Bible supports this. Let's hear what this man has to say. This should drive the point home, is they are all one and in the same.
Have you noticed that the Republicans and the Democrats can't agree on nothing except when it comes to Israel, and Netanyahu can come over here? You see the leader of the Republicans, the leader
doesn't
of the
matter what administration.
together with Netanyahu. Is that a strange picture, that you can't agree on the welfare of the American people, but you can agree on what is in the best interest of Israel? Talk back to me.
Great point. I might be repeating a lot of things, but folks, it isn't complicated. The bankers, Rothschilds, one who successfully debt entire nations, own and establish Israel in 1948, formerly known as Palestine. Too many Americans won't even grasp this next part. So I clear my throat through, how'd I do? Americans are still under the illusion of choice. It's all fake. What does fake mean? You do not have a choice. How? They work for the same slave masters. Everything else is a damn movie to have you believe these are opposing sides. This explains the lies, the flip-flopping, not properly serving us, the treason, the genocide, the economy, trillions, slavery, censorship, oppression, how they protect their buddies on the other side, etc., etc. The sooner enough of us understand this, we can snap ourselves out of this nightmare. I pray we do. I mean, when you take a good long look at images like this, knowing women, children, innocent men were entirely obliterated, all they have is the excuse of hostages. All they regurgitate, it's our greatest ally, without any proper receipts even backing up those statements. Folks, how are any Americans falling for this evil deception? And we're going to go through other things real quick here, but we're accepting the unacceptable. We're excusing this man, and it's bigger than any administration. Once again, I'm not your enemy. I'm not switching to the other side. The other side, it's all a construct. It's all fake. The oldest tactic in the book. Let's ponder for a second that phrase. I feel we understood this phrase more as in our free adolescent minds than we do under our belligerent, self-grandizing, know-it-all syndrome adult state. Ponder this. We knew this with the Pledge of Allegiance and other learned doctrine, at least in my generation. I'm sure it's completely disregarded now because they get us young and program us young. MK Ultra and indoctrinate us young to our own detriment, totally stomping out critical thinking. But I digress. The simple statement of united we stand, divided we fall. We understood that and could grasp that as children. Say that to yourself a few times and sit on that. See how this administration, in the most atrocious way, in the most blasphemous way, in fact, taking the Lord's name in vain, tried gaining momentum during a memorial service, nonetheless, when it was all about radicalizing us against this other constructed think. Once again, we have more in common with those individuals than we do our oppressors or this billionaire class that is projecting all of this. Now, I get it. A lot of them are pretty freaking Looney Tunes. But what is being presented of the true Looney Tunes does not even come close to the actual number of people that voted that way, that believe that way. If that makes sense. We have more commonality, and when we tap into that common ground, we become the solution we so desperately need. It's so freaking clear. I'm baffled. So another angle to look at it, these same family names and what they're tied into and how we're not willing to sacrifice, and we continually embolden and enrich them through the distribution of wealth and institutions owned by these same families like BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, the whole military industrial complex, everything how it's operating and running to our own detriment. Take a look at all this and hear what this man has to say.
Look at all the big name brand companies that Zios control or indirectly control, like through BlackRock. And these are all the big companies that are being boycotted. But notice this too. All these big, wonderful companies that we grew up around, that we loved our entire lives, like Disney and McDonald's, companies that contributed greatly to our society, like Microsoft and Ford, the Zio did not make them. They did not create these companies and build them. They just control them. They gained control of them through the stock market, through other underhanded means. They didn't build that. They took other people's hard work, took other people's great efforts. They took it, they politicized it, they profited off of it, and they used that to direct you and make more profits. And if you spend decades building a big successful business, they'll take that from you too. They hijacked our whole entire economy. Look at all these big name brands. Our free market is just an illusion. It's like a state-controlled economy, but not even our own state. It's a foreign state who controls our state-controlled economy. A perfect free market economy doesn't self-sustain anyway. Individuals, groups, or even foreign countries will always try and monopolize, which is exactly what happened here. And it's really up to our government to prevent this sort of stuff and maintain a free market, or maintain private ownership, and protect that private ownership from these type of shenanigans. And hopefully someday these companies can be freed again, depoliticized, just focus on their business and nobody will need to boycott them. In the process of hijacking our economy, they're also ruining it. And we end up not working for ourselves, but working for another. And hopefully someday we can get this to end.
To see that symbol blasted all over everything under the proper lens. Once again, biblically, this often referred to Star of David, associating with King David. There's nothing biblically substantiating any of that. And when you look into the symbolisms, such as stars and this and that, it's referencing satanic worship, idol worship, Star of Ramphram, things of that nature. It's demonic in nature. When you look at it, it's 6 points, 6 triangles, 6 sides. What does that tell you? 666. I would love for someone to provide historical evidence tying that into the Star of David, King David, biblically. It doesn't exist, and we're falling for it. So even the symbolism regarding Israel, and I believe the color blue and white wasn't an accident either. They've done all the psychological MK Ultra, even to that point, CIA operations, to understand enough about manipulation tactics. Blue and white is the most innocent, cleanest, like, kind of representation they could also infuse into their manipulative tactic of it renaming a landmass as Israel 1948 as though it's the biblical Israel. And we've taken it hook, line, and sinker. Unbelievable. Let's continue. I love MTG. She's, in fact, one of the few that, as of late, has been more and more impressive as of late. Let's check this out.
Israel bombed a Catholic church in Gaza.
I apologize. I have this way sped up. Let's go back to regular speed.
Israel bombed a Catholic church in Gaza, and that an entire population is being wiped out as they continue their aggressive war in Gaza.
Just based on what she just divulged. But Trump says he's moving them. There's a better place. Not even answered the question, what if they don't want to go? Or ethnic cleansing. We're falling for it. You can't lie in this regard and yet still be Team God or Christ or humanity. Do you see that? Kind of like Ian Carroll was covering, like, the crack. I mean, once again, to envision, I love the pane of glass. Once it's cracked, it's no good. Now, it's different if they want to step forward and have honest admissions. I got that wrong. I apologize. This is how I feel we could fix it. And they actually show up and replace that pane of glass. Great. We can see clearly. Let's move on. But none of them are addressing any of that. They're as though they're more so teaching us that it's weak to show humility in that regard and apologize and then do any admission of wrong. Evil.
My amendment would strike $500 million in funding for nuclear-armed Israel's missile defense system. The U.S. already provides Israel with $3.8 billion annually in foreign aid. $3.8 billion. That's a lot
Just
of money.
Aid. Wow.
Additionally, the April 2024 security supplemental included $8.7 billion for Israel. Even though Israel, nuclear-armed Israel, has universal health care for their citizens and subsidized college for their citizens. They're able to provide that. However, here in America, we're $37 trillion in debt. My amendment will ensure an America First Department of Defense, and that is exactly what we need and we haven't had for a very long time.
This administration isn't MAGA. Get over yourself. Stop lying to yourself. That's the worst lie there is to tell. But to her point right there of nuclear-armed Israel, I didn't cue it up, but this is a rabbit hole you could go down yourself, and it's tricky to pull it all up, and I've even verified some of the documentation. But when you look into the Samson option, it literally is like if our foreign country friends turn against us, we're going to use the Samson option. We're just going to cause as much chaos as we can, because if we're going to lose this, it's essentially the rulers that establish that. If we're going to lose it, like, you're all going to freaking pay. There's 3 or 4 locations right here in the U.S. that is designated for some of those nuclear bombs to land. Yeah, our greatest ally. Yeah, go ahead, believe that. Go regurgitate that nonsense. They already know that's another style of manipulation. They say it enough. Why do you think they're pumping democracy all over everything? Why are they pumping our greatest ally over everything for generations now? We've been indoctrinated. It's a hard one to address internally. Once again, to reflect on Charlie Kirk, he refused funding from Netanyahu in his final days. Charlie came to see Netanyahu as a, quote, bully who sought to drag America into foreign entanglements. And Netanyahu, in lieu of his death, lied to the world and said they were friends. Tells you all you need to know. I've been looking for indisputable proof, the most tangible proof I can see out there regarding this bribe from Netanyahu. And what is a foreign leader? A prime minister of another country amongst all the warmongering that's taking place with 9 other freaking countries actively right now taking time out of his day, to invite one of just our civilians here. Who cares is that, for a second, just to put it into context, why is he stopping all of that and inviting him out to Israel? And then also, this is definitively taking place. But as to the amount he offered, we really got to consider and think about. And the only real receipts I could find are the people close to Charlie that have divulged this information. And that is as credible as I could get. I mean, I would like to see some type of email and things like that. But then again, why would they offer, that's serious. Why would they want that type of supply chain to be exposed, right? So it's highly unlikely that it would have just been a verbal meeting. But the best figure we can find is the $150 million that Netanyahu offered Charlie Kirk. That type of money comes with strings attached. That level of money more than doubled the annual TPUSA $140 million budget. I'm pretty sure that was a loyalty test. Think about it, folks. This is one of the biggest breadcrumbs regarding his death versus the clear lies we're being told to dismiss everything and go about our business in this life. Charlie turned that money down. I'll let you ponder on that. I have lots of thoughts. Stop telling me they didn't have a reason. Give this one a listen yet again.
How many of you guys think when a lawmaker and a man I respect like Ted Cruz uses the Bible to justify aid to Israel, doesn't even know the verse, do you guys think that's like not the best way to approach this? Raise your hand. Okay.
I think Ted Cruz used Genesis 12:3. I think a lot of people see that as off-putting when you look at the New Testament.
Why?
Because I think a lot of people, they look especially at the writings of Paul where he talks about how the new flesh is not the same as the people in the old covenant. The new flesh is everybody, everyone's included.
You're talking about Romans 9.
Yes, 9:6, yeah.
Are you Catholic?
Converted to Catholic from Judaism.
I can tell.
This is my next
Oh, from Judaism?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Oh, wow. So you're you're ethnically Jewish.
Ethnically Jewish, yes.
And you have concerns about AIPAC.
Yes, I do.
I'm told that by some people.
I love how the proper distinctions. There's no Judeo-Christian. Because Christ isn't a part of that belief in Judaism. That is the hypocrisy the Bible's warning of us right there. It's just a true belief in Christ. He's finding it through this particular religion. That's what he believes. Muddying the waters is it's a great challenge in our era. I hope that we can wipe the mud off more effectively.
People that if I criticize AIPAC, I'm anti-Semitic.
I think it's ridiculous. Yeah. I feel like it's great to have a concern for your country.
Do you think that that AIPAC represents, again, I'm not saying I believe this, but I think this is what you're saying.
Look how carefully Charlie's trying to craft these questions, knowing, because once again, he already highlighted just even in this thought being labeled anti-Semitic. That infuriated him. We've seen it. I mean, what, with the Megyn Kelly and Tucker, so many other examples.
That it represents a kind of cutting in line of prioritization away from the American people.
Yes.
Would you guys say that's a fair summary? Meaning that, like, okay, we vote, we're citizens, but a separate group gets higher priority because of whatever reasons.
Wow. Very powerful. And I like this gal that put her words, stop telling me they didn't have a reason. They absolutely did. We can speculate till the cows come home, right? On this or that or this or that, but the fact still stands. There's lies being projected 100%. It is clear as day, trying to get us to not look into this ourselves. I just hope this highlights the importance as to why we don't take that bait and we do our due diligence. Listen, just look at his face. He's really doing his best to form the words even here without just blatantly stepping in it. So powerful.
I gotta be careful the way I say this.
Even says that.
They're gonna try to ethnically cleanse Gaza. I mean, that's and I don't
doing.
use that term lightly, okay? They're talking about basically removing 2.5 million people from there, okay? And honestly, they have a mandate to go seek justice and revenge. They do. This idea that they need to have a truce or a peace treaty, that's morally, after you see women and children be burned alive and dragged to the streets.
That was morally crap after you see the atrocities being committed. Wow. Do any of the Americans that enjoyed Charlie Kirk's memorial speech know this about Rubio? It's just another angle. This dude literally filmed himself chopping people's heads off for ISIS. We're not done with that dude. Here he is right here. Shaking Trump's hand, so many of our leaders' hands. Who we talking about? The Syrian president, Ahmed al-Shara. I can't even state it. It's like Billy posted here. As a thanks to all the sacrifice this country has made through the GWT era, they have decided to normalize relations with the literal head-chopping AQ shitbag. Another huge slap in the face by our government that claims to care about the troops. They give zero fucks. It is blatantly in our face. There's so many angles to look at it. Once again, is this a godly man? Has he properly come out and expressed his growth in Christ Jesus now? Or is it the hypocrisies, the deceivers living out in real life? You're to discern, you're to gain that discernment for yourself. Once again, it truly is. It's not even a belief. I might not have the gift to really bring, overall, the evidence I know exists on Muzzle Chat. That if we really did our due diligence on all the talking points, we would see that we are, in fact, we no longer are. It's the deception of being the United States of America anymore. We're no longer that. We are more accurately the divided, conquered, occupied divided states of Israel. But
She does have a very nice figure.
Come on.
I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know.
This isn't a man.
What's the
This isn't a
favorite
man
thing
of God.
you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate.
That's not funny. That's not godly. That is demonic. And when you go down that route, I'm disgusted. I don't even want to continue this any longer. And we went through this clip the other day. It makes sense as to why the blind support to Israel. It makes sense with Epstein and the Mossad connections also ran by Israel. They have this man 7 ways to Sunday, and he's willing to die on the hill, whatever you ask of me, because I do believe 100% he is implicated in the very Epstein. You do not associate with that man for over 15 years, call him a best friend at times, and quote, he's a really good man. We have a lot in common. We both like women. He just likes them on the younger side. And then continue to talk about how Epstein continuously stealing his girls from Mar-a-Lago because they were into shoots and magazines and calendars. I mean, he's a billionaire playboy. For frick's sakes, we were willing to sweep all that under the rug because once again, he formulated words that were so near and dear to our hearts. And I fell for the biggest lie in my entire existence thus far. But then again, it kind of had to be this way to give them the opportunity to show us truly what they are about, who they're in fact serving. And we could change even today's title description. Is he serving our loving creator, or is he serving the destroyer, the devil himself? And it is pretty clear who he's serving. And the deception and blasphemy and taking the Lord's name in vain is just icing on the cake. However, they preyed on a moment, and that's what was so disgusting and vile in my eyes regarding Charlie Kirk's memorial, because undoubtedly the Spirit was present, but it's more so due to the special moment in time and all the beautiful hearts that showed up as to why that Spirit was present. But he utilized that moment to further the divide. For frick's sakes, if we honed in on one of the things he stated in that, the one thing that he kind of stepped in it by stating is he was polarizing the fight against each other and the turmoil against one another, because the image, ask yourself in this moment, when he was talking about the loony left and all that stuff, was it fulfilling the left side of the picture of the title or the right side of the picture? But he talked on one important point of how they were being radicalized. He talked about how they were accepting money. That is not to be ignored. But he used it in a way to weaponize us against them type of think. More along the lines trying to get us like ramped up, like, you fools, to the destruction of this country. Why would you accept that money? That's what he's trying to embolden in our minds and in our hearts and our spiritual beings. The more important question to ask regarding that fact he laid out there, because yes, money's being thrown around. The more important question is, where is the money coming from? He would never really embolden that type of think, because when you really start looking into that, it actually ties all the way up to him. It ties to his buddies. It ties to the infrastructure itself. He's supporting a different class, not we the people. So it was a divisive pitting Christians even on Christians. Yes, there's ones that voted right and left, both studying and actively trying to seek understanding from this very book. That's not good. And that's essentially, they were emboldening, taking advantage of a moment. And that was utterly disgusting. just to sound the alarm on some others, you know what? Let's play this clip real quick, because once again, everyone needs to hear this one. And we should be asking ourselves, once again, who was behind warp speed? All these other things. But this is a bombshell. Hear this out.
Well, the translators are gone, and the live stream is waning.
This is your life. This is your function he's speaking about right here. And he's going to highlight and expose the very institutions, like so many others before him have been as well. Dr. McCullough talks about the biological weapon known as the COVID shot. Once again, warp speed. This is all within the same. And I'm just downright sick and tired of all these things. Any one of these should be enough for us to truly understand. But for some reason, we would rather excuse a man or administration to our own detriment. This is 6 million D space chess. This is a QAnon. They're doing it. There couldn't be any other way. Dividing us further. So there's that. It's enough in and of itself when we're really willing to see it for what it was. The Epstein, also enough. The billions to Israel and the relations there and the continued genocide of people is blatantly in our face enough. At what point, if at any, are we going to unite and be the solution? Our founding fathers, we are the only checks and balances of people, is one body, is God's children. We have. Are we going to seize that before it's too late? I believe with the level of weaponry, biological warfare, everything they're doing, poisoning us daily, we're losing that opportunity quicker than any of us would like to admit.
Which means that if we just listen to my colleague Matthias, the best thing in the world would be to leave it to you, the people. Now it's up to you to share what clearly, based on the cavernous emptiness we see in all of these spaces, is only going to be heard if you share it. So it feels very appropriate that I should be the one with the quietest voice. But let's let that lion roar, shall we? I'm done talking about COVID, and I'm done talking about SARS-CoV-2, and I'm done for a very simple reason. For 110 years, we, the people of the world, have been lied to. We're a group, a very small number of criminal, industrial conspirators decided to subordinate the entirety of the human population for the purpose of their sinister plans to enrich themselves while impoverishing and killing the rest of humanity. Wow. And I'm done being polite. We've long passed polite. When the words acceptable death rate become part of an industrial norm, we have lost the plot of humanity. And that's not my words. Those were the words of the World Health Organization and of Pfizer and of Moderna when they were given the authorization to begin the process of killing human beings in the interest of advancing their goals. Next slide. And I'm also not going to sugarcoat this. This is a criminal cartel. We are acting as though there's some sort of redeemable quality somewhere in some esoteric layer that somehow or another the World Health Organization must have some salutatory benefit. Well, I'm going to tell you, since its formation in the 1940s, the World Health Organization has been nothing more than a criminal cartel that has a sole and singular intent. And I will show you the document that proves what I'm saying. This is not an allegation. This is actually provable by their own words in their own hand. And they use a four-step process to execute every one of their nefarious plans. They begin by planning an exercise. Then they go to the business of funding that exercise. Then they create the rationale for the thing that they're going to do, and then they deploy and profit from it. And in violation of 15...
We must find the rest of this together. I can only imagine as to the rest of the exposure he does to the benefit of us all in that singular setting. Let us not be deceived by so many others. And I plugged, and I'm grateful to an extent because Dan Bongino, so many others had been a stepping stool is to, for me, actually absorbing into information and sourcing information and freeing my mind. But it's important we go to the depths to see as to how impactful the corruption is, because right here, he is an avid supporter, expressing strong pro. In fact, before he even gained his position, he was asked, what are his concerns going into this position? And he expressed basically something along these lines. Defending Israel, being dear to his heart. Start looking into the money chain. And if you can't find the money chain, well, dare I say, there's more than likely darker means that this synagogue of Satan is willing to go to. The bribe, blackmailing, the blackmailing side of it, the Epstein side of it, then, I mean, there is a chance there's purists like, in my eyes, Charlie Kirk. You know, he, I believe, more so fell to the Zionist Christianity side of it, viewing Israel biblical, but in his end, he was asking the big questions. I believe with his intelligence, he was so close with everything he was asking. There were a lot of moments that could have been the final nail in the coffin for him. Who am I to say? But it was becoming very clear. But this, and it continues. This character, Tim Pool, and it continues. I mean, just to even read up on this, like, you'll start throwing up in your mouth when you understand more deeply. Benny Johnson, just regurgitating or greatest ally type jargon. Once again, what this man touches on right here in the beginning, we should really be asking ourselves and looking into. We already know. Let's just play
I
it.
have less ability sometimes online to criticize the Israeli government without backlash than actual Israelis do. And that's really, really weird.
An easy way to know if you are controlled. Is there somebody or something that you're not allowed to criticize? That's right. Simple as that. If you lived in Nazi Germany, you couldn't criticize the Nazi Party. If you lived in the Soviet Union, you couldn't criticize the Communist Party of Russia. If you live in China right now, you can't criticize the Chinese Communist Party. If you live in North Korea, you can't criticize Kim Jong-un. If you live in Cuba, you can't criticize the Cuban Communist Party. If you live in America, who can't you criticize? Who can't you criticize in America?
The Jewish lobby?
Yes.
On both sides. Right.
That's right. That tells you who controls the country. You're not. The fact that we're having this discussion and we're on the edge, all right? Everybody knows this is the edge. Oh, yeah. Why are we on the edge? Because we're touching the third rail. We're breaking the taboo. You're not allowed to discuss the power of the Israeli lobby in America.
Dave Smith is allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was overrepresented.
No, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to, though. No, you're not allowed to.
That's proof right there. They control America. That's who's controlling free speech in this country.
Charlie's foundational work was to none other help us grow the ability of dialogue and discord among ourselves through civil. He was a free speech enthusiast. His memory is being actively tarnished as we speak. Let's not allow that to become. This is like my teleprompter. I'm sorry. We already went through the call to action. Please look into those biblical references regarding hypocrisy. It has been such a gift for me in gaining the ability to see clearly the deceivers in this life. Our dear loving Creator, help open our eyes and our hearts to see through more so your eyes than our desires. That we will more easily see the hypocrisies and the deceptions running rampant to our detriment in the era we have been born into. Help us see those around us also through your eyes. And not just through the humanity, but the humanity side of it all, but the spiritual. Help us humble ourselves to the degree that we can't seek that change in others for ourselves. That it's through you. The proper lenses are given. The shift in our heart and spiritual self are given. I pray in Jesus' name. I love you, and I love you all, and I'm grateful for this moment to utilize, to my limited ability, the freedoms we still have. This can't exist on the majority of the platforms out there. Our freedoms are so infringed upon. We must get more engaged than we ever have before, sooner versus later. Please help guide me. And where you see I may plug myself and have more positive impact, whether it's continuing in this chair. If it is, I need some type of support. Above all, unfortunately, in the time we live in, I need financial support. I believe everything's still active on the buy me a coffee or the Gifts and Go, or not. What is it? No, it's the other one regarding the Lyme disease, because that is that's a huge financial burden I'm still facing to this day, and protocols are still shifting as we speak, but I'm so grateful to at least have the ability to show up and trip up as I am. But there's a Venmo, a Cash App, anything. I need bigger donors. If you have any contacts, just know that they can't come with strings. They can't come with any type of muzzle. If they want to strengthen the ability of this and bless in such a way, can actually get some type of better tech guru to assemble these things to where I could focus more on the talking points and getting through the information. What a blessing that would be. I don't even know if I can say this and it still come off pure. Maybe someone else can express this futuristically. I want to see a better future for us all. More freedom, a more robust land of abundance. I know we could achieve that together, and I pray we do just that. God bless you. Till next time, take care.